Hi friends, welcome back to Sarah's Next Chapter. If you're new here, my name is Sarah and this is my cosy corner of the internet where I share all my bookish related thoughts and musings with you guys. So today we are going to be doing my February reading wrap up and I'm going to be chatting to you about the two books that I managed to read in February. So as always, grab your beverage of choice and let's get into it. So obviously if you watch my channel a lot, you'll know this is a bit of a different setup from where I usually film. I just wanted to try something different, to be honest with you. I've been loving my bookcase vibes right now and it's sunny at the moment, come through this window, and I just thought, let's just switch it up for today, try something different. If we really hate it, I'll go back to the old setup, or I might just switch in between them both as and when I feel like it. So yeah. So, February wrap up. We're not quite at the end of February and I probably will finish the book that I'm currently reading, which is The Virgin Suicides by Jeffrey Eugenides. I'm almost halfway through and I've got a couple of days left and I'm not doing much over the next couple of days, so I probably will finish this by the end of February, but I need to film this video before that point, so yeah. I'm not really going to talk about this book too much. I will say I am enjoying it. Sounds kind of like a weird thing to say considering the title of the book and the subject matter, but I'm finding it very different to what I expected. I expected to go into this book that we would be hearing about the four girls that are like the main characters of this book, but we're kind of getting an outsider's perspective of them from basically these boys that like grew up in the neighbourhood that they lived in before their untimely deaths. Which is kind of making me feel a little bit disconnected from these characters. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm fully on board with that choice yet. I can see, because of some of the themes in this book, like I think a big theme in this book, which is already apparent, and obviously I'm not finished it, but a big theme in this book I think is sexual awakening. So we're kind of seeing that from the boys' perspective, how they just really like kind of idolize these girls, or like they're kind of put them on this mythical pedestal that they just can't fathom, you know, a house with four teenage girls in it and what that would be like. So they're kind of mythologizing them throughout this book. So I kind of understand it from that perspective, but I don't know, part of me is just like, I want to hear from the girls, I want to hear what the girls are thinking and feeling living in this house. I don't know. But anyway, I can't say too much, I'm only halfway through, so I guess I'll leave that for another video. So, the first book I finished reading in February, I don't have a physical copy of because it was actually a Netgalley ARC, so I read it on my Kindle, but that is Cleopatra by Natasha Sullivans. So, Cleopatra is, of course, the feminist retelling of the story of Cleopatra. Now, I'll be honest, going into this, I did not really have much of a preconceived notion about Cleopatra, I don't think. I hadn't really watched any of the old films or really read much about Cleopatra at all. I knew she was a bit of a sort of femme fatale icon. I can see images of her in my head looking quite sensual, with obviously like the dark eyeliner and the big, what do they call that? Is it just a crown? Like a head, like the headpiece that the ancient Egyptians used to wear, and all the gold. Like I can see her looking quite, yeah, very like sensual and glamorous, and but apart from that image I really did not know much about Cleopatra. So this book was really interesting for me because I feel like I learned a lot, and it was really a kind of look on why Cleopatra made, or why she may have made some of the decisions that she made. One thing I liked is that I don't think the author tried to paint her as like a hero or anything like that. I think they just tried to portray her as a woman, you know, kind of realistic as possible portrayal of a woman who has kind of been thrust into power after her father's death, and is just kind of trying to survive and hedge her bets, stack the odds in her favour, if you will. So I thought that was good. I do think that I would have liked to have seen more of the other points of view of some of the other characters, particularly that of her right-hand woman. I can never remember if it's Charmian or Shahriman. So this is basically Cleopatra's slave, but they grew up together, so they do have a really strong bond and friendship, a really strong connection to each other. I would have really liked to see more or hear more of her views on what Cleopatra's doing. because there's times in the book where you can see that I wish I could remember how you say her name. I'm going to call her Charmian, but that might be wrong. There's times where you can see that she maybe doesn't quite agree with Cleopatra. Maybe she would do things differently. Maybe she doesn't see her reasoning. You know, obviously they've had very different lives and sense of like how they grew up and their background. So it would have been interesting to see her point of view. Also, there was another woman in it. Again, I'm really sorry about the pronunciation of these names. I read it a few weeks ago now, and even at that point, when I was reading it, I could barely pronounce the names. I think the other woman is called something like Semolina, I want to say, or Semilia. So she is the lover, kind of long-term lover of Julius Caesar, before Cleopatra comes in and kind of garners his attention. And she's a really interesting character, and I would really have liked to have heard more from her character. But saying all that, I really enjoyed it. The writing was very evocative. Really enjoyed getting a little insight into Cleopatra and Julius Caesar, because I feel like they're these two figures that they almost don't seem real, you know, because they just seem so grand, and you just see these kind of faces and statues and things everywhere. So it was nice to kind of get a real life kind of view of what these people might have been like. And the second book I read in February was And He Shall Appear by Kate Vanderborg. This was very kindly sent to me by Harper Collins. I absolutely love this book. I absolutely love this book. It was a wild ride, and I was here for it every step of the way. So this is a bit of dark academia set in the hallowed halls of Cambridge. So our main character, who we never find out the main character's name, by the way, so I'll just refer to him as MC, or main character. Anyway, he goes to Cambridge to study music, and he quickly gets swept up into this society of people who their ringleader is this enigmatic figure called Bryn Cavendish. So Bryn is a magician's son, but he is also a magician himself, and there's almost this cult-like following around Bryn. Everyone wants to please him, particularly our main character, because Bryn is from a very wealthy family, high status family, and our main character is not. Our main character is very working class and feels constantly out of place in Cambridge. So the idea of class is a really prominent theme in this book. And this book was actually quite scary. Yeah, it was unexpectedly really scary. Like, there was passages in this book where I genuinely felt quite creeped out, and you never quite know whether things are actually happening, whether it's in our MC's head, whether it is actually Bryn's magic that's manipulating situations. So I just absolutely love this. I found this a really, really fascinating read, and if you're interested in dark academia, I would highly recommend reading this. I think this is Kate Vanderborg's first novel, so I'm really excited to read whatever she puts out next. So yeah, those were the 2.5 books that I read in February. Let me know if you've read either of them, or if you're interested in reading them after hearing me talk about them. Get a ton of reading done in February, and that's okay. And I really want to just like pioneer that on this channel, that as much as this is a bookish YouTube channel and I have a book talk and a bookstagram and all that kind of stuff, there are some weeks and months where I just don't read very much. And that can be due to a number of factors. Maybe you just don't feel like reading, and that's okay. For me, we're currently house hunting, so that is just taking up a lot of time and a lot of my mental capacity that I would normally be dedicated to reading. And that's okay, you know, life happens, and you're still a reader, even if you only read one book a month or no books a month or whatever. Like, we need to stop putting so much pressure on ourselves as readers. I only read 2 books. I enjoyed the 2 books that I read, and that's enough for me. So yeah, just wanted to give that little reminder if anyone else needs it out there. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave me a comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!